situation, who can even be a bridge to get us to the other side. But I think when we get to the other side, it'll be the other side of realness.
I think Joe Biden has a chance to be LBJ.
Next LBJ.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
I don't believe you can be a Democrat and be a Christian at the same time. I just don't believe it.
That's why you better be independent. You can't be a Republican and a Christian at the same time either. Just ask the evangelicals.
What's up, everybody? It is, what's today? Monday. So you know what time it is. TFG tonight. We got a good show for you. I have some guests coming on in just a minute. We're going to jump into some political and social topics, and I'm ready to get into it. Let's go ahead and bring on the team tonight. Let's get into this thing. We're not waste any time. Familiar face, y'all seen her before. It's Madison Page from.
Hey everybody.
I think DC.
Thanks for having me.
DC.
DC.
Welcome. Thank you for coming on. Another familiar face, Mr. Dwayne.
What up, everybody? How y'all?
From all over. Where you from?
From everywhere. Oakland. From the West Coast to the East Coast, but the West Coast be the best coast. Holla at me.
Right on. Y'all ready to jump into these topics tonight? We just got a few. We're gonna get in and get out, share some dialogue, and get up out of here. First topic. I'm a little excited about this first topic. I'm not sure if many people have got wind of this, but 19 Black families purchased 97 acres in, I think, Georgia. They basically said they're hoping that it will be a thriving, safe haven for people of color, for Black families in particular. It's the land sits just east of Macon, and Dwayne, you probably know that area. You know Georgia, right?
I know a little bit about Georgia.
Wilkinson County. There was a real estate agent, her husband, some investors. They all got together, put some money together, and purchased this land. Now, my question is, they're looking to turn this land into kind of an area for just particularly Black folks only. Is that a racist thing to do? Is there a negative connotation to that? Is that okay for Black folks to do that, create a place just for Black folks?
I mean, I don't think it's a negative connotation. I mean, let's look at Black Wall Street in Oklahoma back in the 1950s. It was just Black people, Black currency, Black businesses, Black homeowners, the whole 9 yards. I mean, I think that's a good thing. It's just how people want to take it. I mean, if they want to take it in a racist condensation, then that's on them. But if it's Black owned, why not invest? Why not give back to your people? Why not?
I'm curious if white people will look at that as though we're being segregated, if you will. What are your thoughts on that, Madison?
Well, I mean, anyone who would even suggest that has probably not spent a lot of time traveling into every neighborhood in the country. I mean, the reality is that our neighborhoods are already segregated. Every state, every community, every place where people live, there are Black people and white people. This is well documented that we don't share communities together. So it would be really funny to me for someone to say, well, how can they buy 97 acres? We got whole counties here in Metro DC that's just Black.
Well, King County, is that mostly Black?
And you have whole counties that are mostly white, and then you have pockets within those counties where it's Spanish over here and white over there. So whether you admit that this is the way it sort of is already, it is. What I like though about this is that there is land ownership of land.
Right.
I think that's important, right?
Yeah.
I think there's an ownership, the ability, no matter how we slice it, ownership of property in this country is the engine of wealth building. So I think that this is a positive development. I hope that they've crossed all their T's and dotted all their I's, so there's no drama. But this is the key to home ownership. This is the key to wealth building. And I think that for a lot of us, we need to be re-examining some of these collective, these things that we can do collectively.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree on that one.
Now they mentioned that in light of all the stuff that's been going on as relates to the killing of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, all that, they wanted to create what they call a safe space. Now,
I don't know about a safe space in Georgia. I mean, let's just be honest, okay? I mean,
you talking about safe space in Georgia? Oh man, is there a safe space in Georgia?
I'm curious, is it even creating a safe space with a whole bunch of black folks in one community?
Hey, I can't agree with the word safe space. I mean, I think it's a, like Madison said, is building wealth for our people, and that's what you need to do. You need to promote home ownership and wealth and residual income. Right. But as far as a safe space, I think that's a bad choice of words. I mean, you can make it
definitely aspirational, but I don't think there's, there's a part of me that feels almost like they're sitting ducks, right? Like,
let's just sit here and take a pot shot. Okay,
right. I mean, we have some crazy folks, and you can look at Black Wall Street and what happened in Tulsa, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was a whole thriving community, and folks just said, well, you know what? They're doing too well. Let's just burn it all down.
Burn it down.
But the alternative is to do nothing, and right. I think that's not a realistic alternative. I mean, what are you gonna do? Just fold before the fight? No, you don't fold before the fight. You fight.
This is true. They went on to say, watching our people protesting in streets. While it is important, I want people to stay out in the streets, bringing attention to the injustice of black people. We needed to create a space where we could be a village again, a tribe again. We wanted to create this safe space where we can address our own issues and concerns. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting. I'm interested to see how it turns out. I'm interested to see the formation of it all, if you will, the leadership, and how that works out. I think it works out great.
I think if it works out, and we pray that it does, let's just hope that greed doesn't get in the middle. And we all know what happened to a lot of the tribes in Africa when colonization came in and slavery started. Greed is what got a lot of our people back in the 1800s when slavery, or 1600s and stuff, when slavery kind of first started. Greed, that dollar, man, and we all know what that dollar do to a person real quick. And then on top of that, as long as we, our people don't start hating each other or feeling jealous of someone because, oh, well, you got land that was there. Like, hey, man, like, you could have got the same thing I got. What did you do to get this?
Right.
And I think like Madison said, you got like DC got pockets of like black people over here and black people over there, and then you got the uppity black folks and you got the hood black folks.
It's like that. Black folks in Texas is like that too, for sure.
But it's like, oh, because you like my daddy said, you can have a house on the hill, you can have a house in the hood. Which one do you want? And that's that personal choice. So I mean, hopefully they create this they make this community robust and have a different blend of people.
So would you both be willing to live in an environment like that, in a community that's an all black founded, black only community town, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, I would. I mean, my neighbors just gonna know I got guns in the house. I mean, I'm like, hey man, hey, I love you to death, but I mean, I got my shotgun and everything else. Just don't do nothing stupid. We good. Leave me alone. I'll leave you alone. Hey neighbor, how you doing?
I happen to think that intentional communities, I am a fan of intentional communities. I've always been a fan of intentional communities. And I think that we are, at the risk of sounding, philosophical or whatever, or a little bit woo, I feel like we're moving into a different sort of paradigm. Not just black people, I said humanity. I feel like we are at a precipice right now where we may be moving into a new paradigm. And I think if we do this right, I feel that we will begin to understand how important it is for us to work together and to be to collectively build things together. And this isn't just a race, black or white or whatever. I'm just saying, as a human race, I do think that there are going to be, I mean, we're seeing it already, right? In COVID, we're seeing a lot of people who are, blended families are moving back into homes together, right? Because of the financial situation and the job situations, and we're having to learn how to do that again. And I think that there's room to expand on that. And I think people are starting to see, hey, this thing that we built that we thought was all so advanced and so wonderful, maybe not as much as we thought. And I can foresee a time when more people are considering intentionally villaging, like sort of intentionally villaging.
Brittany says, where's their leadership coming from as far as policies and ordinances? If that isn't established with a good foundation, it will go downhill fast. Yeah, that's true. I think, in my opinion, I always look at how does black leadership lead now in cities, and like black city council. What's wrong? What about that, Dwayne? What's that about? Go ahead. I'll let you talk.
I mean, I think black leadership now in cities. So let's take Richmond, Virginia, right now. I think the governor or the mayor of Richmond, I think he's doing a really good job. I mean, he has, controlled COVID as best he could. He put policies in place to like keep people healthy, keep people safe. People are going to do what they want to do regardless of the fact. But I think he's doing the best. I mean, for example, he's pushing to take down the racist monuments of, all the Civil War generals, Confederate Civil War generals. I think as long as black leaders don't get corrupted by the evil that's been in this world for so long, I think that they will be okay. And I think if they look at the fact that it takes, you have to have a heart to lead, and you have to have a heart to it takes a heart to raise a village, and it takes a community to keep it together in a sense. And that pulse, that heartbeat is everybody. And as long as these leaders that are in this community, they understand that it's going to take from the top to the bottom to make that community thrive and grow, I think they'll be fine. But you just have you have too many crooked ones that are in these other major cities that let money get to their head. And again, money is the root of all evil. So yeah, as long as money don't get involved, as long as people take their personal vendettas out of it and they think about everybody else, I think they'll be fine.
Right.
Well, I mean, this is sort of my wheelhouse, because I do local and state politics, and this is sort of my wheelhouse. And so where they are is not independent of whatever jurisdiction already exists, right? So we have a couple of problems when we think about politics and we think about representation, particularly in black areas. And we already talked about how they separate. You'll have black people living here and white people living over there. And really, politically, what has happened is that just like we have gerrymandering in Washington, we have gerrymandering at the state level. So what will happen is districts will be carved out in these weird little funky shapes. And they basically will, I have been saying for a long time that they put all the black people in one district. So I'll use an example, and I'll use a congressional example because it's an easy one to understand, but this also happens at the state legislative level as well. If you look in Georgia, you can see there's some black in every state, almost every state. There are black congressional representatives for that state. I don't care how red the state is, right? Yeah. So Georgia has its black representatives, Texas, all of the states have their own little representative for that. And they carved it out, and it's all the black people in one district. But here's the thing about that: it actually diminishes our voice. Because if you have, let's just imagine for a moment, you have 50 people in your state legislature, and they've carved out 2 or 3 little districts where all the black people live.
Right.
And we vote for these black leaders, and we feel good about it because we feel they understand us, and we send them to the state capitol to represent us. But there's 50 seats there, and we've got 3 of them. Because they've carved them all out and ghettoized us into these. So we only got 3 voices. And that does not represent our population. If they had created those districts fairly, yes, they would break us up. But we would have a say in that district and in that district and in that district and in that and in that district. You see what I'm saying? So this is the so what, and these are the types of, you know, so this is you know, I'm like, this is the stuff that turns me on, right? So this is the thing that it's hard to get to people to understand. And when I'm working when I'm doing my political consulting with Bold Blue campaigns, we work exclusively with local and state candidates, Democratic candidates. Corruption is a problem in areas where there's no chance that. So what happens in places like in blue states and in blue cities, Chicago, Baltimore, places like that, no Republican is ever going to win in those places, right? So what happens is those people get elected, and they know they can't really be challenged,
right?
And so what we do is we say, oh no, we're going to make it possible for our challenger to come in and not need to have $40 million to run a campaign against you in city commission. So what we do is we're grassroots funded. So the candidate doesn't have to have deep pockets to be able to challenge an incumbent in the primary. So that's one way that we're trying to flatten that influence of money in places where that kind of corruption exists. And then in places where there are red Republicans who are always running and they never have a challenger because no Democrat feels that they can run and be effective, we support that too. So there are ways to do this. Part of it is making sure that the people and the leadership understands that you have this community, and that's great, but you're still part of those jurisdictions and you still have to actively participate, and you can't let them ghettoize you.
Does it matter that this place that these people bought is unincorporated?
No, because if it's unincorporated, then it's probably part of the county. They have probably a county commission that's representing them. Okay. And so my concern would be from a political and power standpoint, whether or not those 97 acres, I would be concerned about whether those 97, where those 97 acres are and how many, what districts if there's one or more districts at that 97 acres, there's probably a good chance that district that they may be represented by more than one county commission district, which would be great. If it would be great if that was the case, because then they have a double voice and double influence, right?
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. We'll see how this turns out. I'm quite excited to see. And I'll be following. Get Mr. Haynes is coming in here. It looks like we got someone popping in. Mr. Haynes, what's going on, sir? How's it going?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
What's going on, man?
What's up, Dwayne Madison?
Hey, what's
how you doing? All right. Good. Y'all doing all right?
You're jumping in on the tail end of a conversation of about 19 black folks in Georgia. They bought 97 acres of land, and they turned it into kind of a safe place, black only type community. And we're just talking about the pros and cons of something like that. What are your thoughts on it before we hop on to the next topic?
Okay, my connection is short out. You said the pros and cons of what?
Of a black only community bought by 19 black individuals, 97 acres of unincorporated land.
Oh, well, I think. Oh, I guess. Hopefully, we won't have no Tulsa problems.
I said the same thing earlier.
Right.
Yeah, that's cute. Yeah, I mean, my thing is, it depends on what kind of people we dealing with, man. Because You know, empire, power, all those people. You
Oh
know,
man, that's what I said
Mhm.
earlier. That corruption, man.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
it's not. We are not immune to it by no means. So.
yeah. So we're hoping for the best for it. Brittany mentioned something before I go to the next one, and I just want to touch on it real quick because I'm a little saddened by it, kind of, sort of. Dallas, the police chief in Dallas did resign. African American woman, Renee Hall. She came to Dallas from Detroit, which is interesting to come from Detroit to Dallas. Does Detroit qualify you for Dallas? I don't know, but okay.
So that's a different qualification,
Two different worlds, two totally.
different set of skills.
So, but I, of course, y'all know how I am about feeling. I like the idea of a black woman running a city in that role. So I liked it for that reason. Our crime has not gone down; it has continued to go up, unfortunately. But that's not just her fault, in my opinion. She's tried to implement things; it just hadn't really clicked just yet. So she resigned, and she will be out in November, unfortunately. So I just want to make that announcement to the folks in Dallas that are watching. And we got a new black mayor that is not too keen on her, and he was influential in that decision, I'm sure, and trying to push her out. Black guy.
Well, that's what I don't understand. Why do our own people hate when we have our own people in positions to make a change? Just because the change doesn't happen overnight, why you gotta get rid of that person? Why you gotta hate it? Why do you have to be a hater? Let that person do what they are doing. You can't help the ignorance of other people. And sometimes, and you know, I'm gonna say it, our people are just stupid as hell. They just can't seem to get it together. But if this woman, and I don't know your police chief in Dallas, but if this woman was trying to make a change, it's like Novocaine. You insert it, eventually that is gonna work. Eventually it's gonna work. Why do you have to have so much disdain for a black woman in power
Right.
to be like, yep, we gotta do something about this. We gotta get her out of here. No, let that woman do it. Let her be great. Let her do what she wanna do. Cause I guarantee you, after a while, I bet you something would have changed. I just believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And this guy's coming in. He just kind of has a whole different idea of how he wants things to be run. And he's kind of been on her for a minute. So unfortunately, whatever he did, I think, of course, he's not the only reason she's leaving. I'm sure she's probably sick of it or probably got a job. She probably got the Atlanta position. Has that been filled yet? Who knows? She maybe got that position in Atlanta.
But y'all remember Fitzgerald in Fort Worth, man? Like he had problems too.
Oh, really?
You know,
And
yeah, he was black chief.
lots of police chiefs are quitting right now or resigning. Why is that? Let's speak on that for a second. Why
Well,
is
now
that?
Fitzgerald, he was in there messing with the good old boys, and so that was a problem. And they you know, you don't go snitch on the good old boys. That's what he was trying to do. And so,
Madison, working on the local level, what are your thoughts on that? Why are police chiefs quitting?
You know, here's what we've discovered, and so about earlier in the year, my team over at People Over PACs were working on legislation. Everybody was talking about reform legislation.
Ooh, she fine.
A bill to reform to do something even bigger than what was being proposed. And I was talking to a lot of police people who are currently, in service, people who were retired. I talked to people who worked and were working in a variety of different capacities in policing. And I think this is my opinion, but it's an informed one. I think that what's happening right now is that the unions that represent police are sort of antithetical to the rank and file. Some of the rank and file are like, you know what, this is bullshit. We don't want it. What's happening is fucked up. And they're a party to it. And there's this internal tension that nobody can resolve. That's what we try to do with our Smart Act legislation. But there's this internal tension that some people want to resolve. There's people there who don't want to kill folks, and there are people there who do, and it's like a gang. If you're in the gang and you don't want, and you ain't down with you're not down with the worst that the gang is up to, you're suspect. So everybody goes along with it. And I think the police chiefs are finding that they just can't figure out how to resolve that. And so they just rather take their retirement, get their little money, and step out without having to actually come up with a solution to this problem that is now becoming obvious, that has been systemic and long-standing for a very long time. There's a culture problem in the policing. There's a serious, deep culture problem that has to be fixed, and they don't know how to do it.
Wow.
That's interesting.
So they just cut and run.
Wow. Anybody else want to jump in on that, Bryn, Dwayne? That's it.
I probably would have to agree. I mean, like it's kind of like in the military. A lot of these, officers, leaders, they get to a point they're like, man, I'm done. Because the minute you start going against the grain, it's like, yep, we got to cut your throat.
Yeah. It's like you're between a rock and a hard place. As a black leader in the police force, it seems, if you are a good guy, particularly this woman in Dallas, let me show her again. I like her, by the way. I think she was good. Anyway,
with her fine self.
And she was cool too. Look at them shades. She always had
look at her. She got her hair slicked over like, hey.
And she can get witchy too. She a little hood. She from Detroit. She a little hood too. They didn't like that. The white folks didn't like how real she was. She get them told. All right. So the thing about that, it's like you're between a rock and a hard place. Whether you're a good cop, you're a good chief, you black, but you have to also play both sides of Black Lives Matter and the police brutality. You got to speak on that. Which is also speaking against some of your people that's in your speaking against police as a whole, and then you got to support police at the same time. So it's kind of a hard place to be in my opinion, as a chief or a lieutenant or what have you in the police on the police force. So it kind of sucks. So I do see why I'd probably be retiring too, taking my money and going on some trips or something and be done with it.
It's like, I don't get paid enough for this.
Right, and they don't. They really do not. They really don't. Life on the line.
We're not gonna talk about the inequality in pay when it comes to us public defenders and everything else. Let's just skip that topic because.
I know. Miss producer's go on to the next thing. What we got? What we talking about? Trump. Oh Lord, what to say about this idiot? This guy. I'm sorry. So Bob Woodward has a book called Rage. This guy is most known for basically taking down Watergate. Well, he had a book about Watergate, the history of Watergate. And due to Trump's narcissism, I'll say, he gave 18 on-the-record interviews, audio.
Can you imagine?
You're gonna get some good. You're gonna get some good stuff out of that, right? Talking to Trump, right? So some of the stuff he basically told his guys that COVID was way worse than what he was saying in the public. He basically said you just breathe the air and that's how it's passed. This is February 7th. He said so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than even your strenuous flus. This is deadly stuff, he admitted. All while telling us not to worry about it. All while telling his base don't wear masks. All while telling people to go back to work. So this guy is responsible for almost 200,000 deaths, in my opinion. What do y'all? Is he responsible?
Y'all know I have to keep silent on that one.
Of course he is. Of course he is. Listen, when you are the leader, you are responsible for the troops. Right, Dwayne? So
yeah.
I mean, okay, so I'm just saying you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say the buck stops with me until the buck is counterfeit. And you're like, oh, I don't know where that came from. Yeah, you do know where that came from, right? And that's the problem with him. You know what I'm saying? His personality, man. When I heard the audio from that book, every person who continues to want to allow him to be the way he is and to give an excuse for him, you are telling me the underlying problem with this, it ain't what we see. It's you don't want America to go in the direction in which is inevitably going, which is like that white woman, I mean, like that black lady said on the airplane. California is a, he said California is a queen. And so and she said, and she's a queen, and white privilege is over. I said, all right, sister. Yeah, yeah.
So I think the thing that bothers me most, and I heard it on TV this morning, as I sip my tea and eat my breakfast in the morning, right? When it is now at a point where people feel like the coronavirus is not real, it's a fake virus, it's a hoax, and those bases of people are basically, I'm just gonna keep it as frank as I can, fucking idiots. Yeah, it's becoming a real problem when the numbers speak that there are over 180,000 deaths, and we are the number one leading country in the world for coronavirus deaths and cases, I should say. It's a problem. And the only other country behind us is India.
India got billions of folks.
India got more people than we do. India is probably they got more people they right below China when it comes to their population.
Yeah.
And I've been to India. India is crowded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, oh my God, India is crowded. So when you have people that have enough gumption and enough, even our own people that say, well, it's a fake virus. It's my right as a human being. You right. It's your right as a human being to not wear a mask, whatever. But it's also my right as a human being to slap you in your fucking mouth if I get sick.
And let's look at what Brittany says here. Brittany says you don't agree that he was trying to avoid mass panic. Do you think that may be the case?
Absolutely not the case. Absolutely not the case. Listen,
That's
Donald
sarcasm.
Trump,
I'm gonna drink I'm gonna
Trump
sip my wine.
and the Republicans, and let's not just say Donald Trump, because it wasn't just Donald Trump. We have to remember that he has been enabled this entire time and throughout his administration by a Republican Party that has ignored sign after sign after sign after sign of malfeasance. He should have been impeached and removed from office just as a result of the things that he did prior to his inauguration. Okay, yeah. So we have a complicit and treasonous party that's supporting his activities. He wasn't trying to avoid mass panic. He was thinking about how he could benefit from it, politically, economically, and in every other way. Period. That's how That's how he is. And if he wanted to know how he could communicate accurate information without he could have just sat down and watched Cuomo in New York, who was absolutely
that's true
flawless.
Yeah,
he was honest.
Can I turn the corner?
And it was a horrible situation going on in New York, and he did not cause panic. He instilled people with pride, and he gave people a sense of hope and say, hey, you know what, we're tough, we're gonna get through this. That was leadership. He could have looked at that and mimicked it if he was trying to avoid panic, but that's not what he was trying to do.
Because I know we
figure out how to capitalize on it.
I know when it broke out in Korea, our garrison commander, he got people in check real quick because people were like, oh my God, we gotta buy up all the toilet paper. He was like, no, take y'all happy tails home, stop panicking. We're gonna figure this out and we're gonna get through this together. Right. Policies, procedures, and practices are implemented to make sure to control this. We got it under control really fast in Korea. I mean, there's been, after I left, there's been other outbreaks and stuff, but it hasn't been to the point where it's like it is here in the United States. One or two, get it under control real quick. Right. But that's about as far as I can go. But
all right, let me. Let me turn the corner. Let me turn the corner here. I want to say something that's probably not going to be, um, yeah, it's not going to be popular. But I want to say this: Trump is a problem. But I'm gonna tell y'all, there is a boil on this country, and if anybody ever had a boil before, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? And there is a knot on this country that is called Bob Woodward. And I'm gonna tell y'all why. This is my problem with all the Bob Woodwards of the world. This man knew in February what that joker said,
This is true.
but you withheld that information, dude,
For your book.
for your personal gain. How much more patriotic are you? And how many more people knew and would not say anything? That,
Publish
ladies and gentlemen, is a bigger issue than Donald John Trump.
But
A
let me ask
bigger
you
issue.
this. Let me ask you this. If he had recorded that interview in February when Donald Trump was calling it a hoax, and if he had released it, do you think that that would have changed Donald Trump's behavior toward how he dealt with this virus?
It doesn't. It's nothing's going to change it. But what it would have done, it would have put people on alert. Those that mindlessly listen. If you want to listen, you can't fix stupid. I have
You
no
sure
cure for
can't.
that.
You sure
Okay, so
can't.
there is no cure for stupidity. But the thing is, when you hear the man say something, it's like they expect integrity out of us, but we can't get it from them. And it's just like, okay, then at what point? At what point, y'all? Are we put? Listen, y'all not putting America first. Y'all putting the dollar first. And then all these people knew, man. Listen, I guarantee you, if not half, all the people in the White House knew. I promise you, if Democrats want to make something leak, they can make it leak, right? If the aides in the White House can talk to these reporters and they come out with all this information beforehand, why we couldn't come out with this beforehand? Again, I've said it once and I'll say it again. Racism is a pig pen. Classism is the bigger issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's the bigger
Cause,
issue.
Cause you know racism is sloppy, it's messy. We already know what it's gonna look like. We know the pigs is in the pen on that one. But classism, you got some of the most racist bigots in suits that will smile in your face and drive a knife in your back. And ultimately, yeah, I think if there was probably a lot of people that knew this virus was gonna get as bad as it did, and they just let it happen.
Sure.
And it's sad. It's just completely sad, and
population control.
it's population control. It's a and you know it's if you look at it again, it's affecting African Americans. It's affecting people of Black and brown culture than it is, and then more than it is of the Caucasian culture. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers. Somebody pop them up, but you know, I just think again, population control. It was a way of let's stem down the populace and let's make the minority again, so we can become the majority again.
Yeah.
But
I don't. I with regard to Woodward, I'm not here to say whether or not he had. Well, I'm not.
Now you would say it about the Republicans. Then
I'm not
don't
calling
start
him a
that now.
saint. I'm not calling him a saint. But what I will say is that I probably, and we were having this discussion on my Facebook page a few days ago, because it is a salient point that you bring. Why didn't he release this information when when Trump admitted it? And could it have changed the course of how this was handled? Would it have? Could it have made a positive effect? And I mean, I guess that's a good question, and it's a salient point to say, you know, maybe he felt that it wouldn't.
That's what he's saying.
I'm in political strategy.
Why does he get to decide though? Why did he get to decide?
No, I understand. I agree. I think there's a reasonable argument to be made that he could have, and he should have released that information. But at the same time, we've been watching for and so this is where I sit on it as a political strategist who works in politics and understands that basically everything is political. we have been watching for the last 3 years, this man commit all kinds of acts that really would have been impeachable in any other environment.
Right.
They would have been. He has done things that we didn't even think anybody could ever get away with. So when I'm working with political candidates, there's always a bombshell. When I sign up and I sign a candidate and we're going to work with that candidate, there's always that October surprise. There's always a bombshell in the works. And we have to make decisions about whether, when, and why, and how to release it to create the greatest impact. And that judgment comes from a decision that comes from saying, what is the impact of releasing it today? And would it be a greater impact if we released it tomorrow? And I am of the opinion that if he had released it back in February or March, it would have gotten some attention for a minute. I don't believe it would have changed anything that he did. I don't believe it would have changed anything that any of his voters and the people who are part of his personality cult, they would have. It wouldn't have. I don't believe it would have changed anything. Of course, that's speculation. But what I do think is that, and this is something that I'm observing in some of the campaigns that we're working with right now. There's about a 12 to 17% soft Republican support that he's losing. People who voted for him,
Right.
And now they're soft on him. And part of the reason that they're soft on him is because this is starting to impact their lives. And they're saying, wait a minute, he said this, and now it's not really happening. And then this revelation comes out that not only did he say something that isn't jibing with their lived experience, but he knew that it wasn't going to jibe with their lived experience. And that, sometimes you look at them and we say, can't fix stupid. And we say, how do we get these people who are so, how do they get out of that mindset where they just will listen to anything he says? Now, and one more thing, Joe Biden, when he made a statement about this, said that he was disappointed with Donald Trump. And the statement and finding out that Donald Trump knew this before. And I made a joke. I said, disappointment is a weird word because disappointment implies that you had an expectation of better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that's a really weird word from Joe Biden. But as a political strategist, I understand why he used that word, because he's not talking to me. He's talking to that 15% of Republicans who are also disappointed. They're starting to sink in. It's starting to sink in. It's starting to sink in for a lot of them. The independents and the moderates and the people who voted for him, saying, "Hey, let's give him a chance. He's all right." Suddenly they're going, "What? Holy shit!" It's like the fog is lifting. I don't like that it has to be that way. However, we have watched for 3.5 years this guy get away with everything, and nothing has been able to make them go, that dude is crazy. I can see he's crazy.
Behind the scenes, but just not publicly.
But they're just not.
But my problem, y'all.
It wouldn't have sunk in 3 months ago.
Madison, when is right, and when is wrong?
We have to get him out of office. We have to get.
I'm not even talking about it. Okay, let's even take your side, because I'm in the middle. I got guns for everybody, right? So this is my problem. If Biden put an op-ed for Trump about this thing, what does that tell us about what Biden needs? What does that tell us about everybody? Come on, you're gonna sound just like him. You're gonna sound like the little Trumpy bears. Now, because you can't tell me that dude did not know the extent of what is said, because that's what they do. They always know, right? They are never not knowing. Nobody, they don't even make a move politically unless they know it's going to affect them positively or negatively. So you can't tell me that Joe didn't know. No,
didn't know
Joe
what?
knew.
Didn't know
Joe-
what?
But
Joe,
but I think Joe said it, but no people aren't putting the same weight on what Joe is saying versus what Trump is saying. However, though, my question is for Madison: does Obama and Bush still get briefs on stuff that's happening, the seriousness of some of this stuff? Why couldn't they come out and say stuff too? That's all of them are hell.
That's what I'm talking about.
I think we're conflating two different things. I think we're conflating two different things. One is the statements that were taken by Woodward between Trump and Woodward. Okay, the interviews that Woodward was having with Trump are one thing, and what was going on with the virus and what people were being briefed at is another thing. Now, Trump is saying what's happening right now is we're discovering that Trump actually believed the truth. He was being told the same thing everybody else was being told. This is an airborne virus. This is deadly. This is worse than the flu. This is a horrible thing. And what we're learning now as a result of Woodward is that he actually believed that and knew it. And but he chose to misrepresent it and say, "Oh, this is a hoax. It's not that serious."
They didn't want to cause a panic.
And he is saying that he was doing that to make sure that people don't panic. That's the story. Everybody else knew. Nobody was denying that it was real. So Joe Biden didn't deny that this was real or serious.
Right. He mentioned how serious it was. Just the same way didn't carry with Biden.
Everybody was talking about
they feel like he's campaigning,
saying that it was a hoax, and now we're discovering that he knew it wasn't a hoax.
Yeah, I had to say this. So as far as former President Bush and forever President Obama, no, they are not briefed on any situations after they have left the White House. They are not briefed on those situations because it's still a conflict of interest. They can't brief them, and that's just me being in the military. They don't get briefed on situations like that. Now, the only person that gets briefed on situations would be the president, vice president, and then the Speaker of the House, because they all are in those rooms too.
Then that make it even worse.
Because they cannot weigh in on any political strategy or anything like of that nature. So
Nancy knew too. Well, she said it too. I guess maybe she said it, but I guess if you got your president saying idiot stuff on national TV, a lot of people gonna believe it because a lot of people like him for some odd reason.
He was the only one saying that it wasn't serious. Yeah. Everybody else back in February was saying we need to look at. Everybody else was looking at what was happening in Italy, and looking what was happening in the UK, and saying, "Oh my God, if we don't do something quickly, this is what's going to happen to us." Yeah. And now we're discovering that Donald Trump actually knew that was true, and while he was promoting the idea that it's just a flu, he kept saying it's just a flu. It's not that serious. It's just a hoax. It's a Democrat hoax. And now we're discovering that he knew that wasn't true, and he said it anyway. That's what we're discovering through the Woodward tapes. And I don't disagree with you that there's a reasonable argument to be made that Woodward could have and should have divulged it at that time.
Mm-hmm. As we transition, Andrew Gillum, former mayor of Tallahassee, I believe, ran for governor of Florida, lost to Ron DeSantis. He did a little bit of commentating for a little bit, and then he was found in a Miami hotel room, ass naked, butt up in the air, passed out, methamphetamine sprinkled about, with a gay escort. That's the headline. I'm not judging, but that was the headline.
Wow.
I'm not going to show the other photo that I showed on the other show. I'm not going to do that this time.
What was the other photo?
No, Dwayne.
It was that bad?
Google.
Should I show the photo? Do I need to show the photo?
I don't need to see
Was it that bad?
I don't need to see it.
I just want to laugh. I just want a good chuckle. That's all I want.
I just want to be able to go to bed tonight. I don't want to see that. I want to go to bed.
Oh man.
So that's. I'm sorry, Brenton.
You
All
said
right, so
was that Photoshop? Let's just hope
no,
that was Photoshop.
it's Photoshop to not be showing the bottom
Oh
portion
man, listen,
because he was
listen.
fully naked.
He got
He
an
was fully
Audi.
naked. I ain't gonna do it.
I don't want to see that. He got an Audi.
Let's cleanse our palates a
Say
little
he
bit.
got an Audi.
He don't have an N. He got an
Let's
Audi.
cleanse our palates a little bit. All right, let's show a whole bunch of other stuff real fast. All right, yeah.
Woo.
Cleanse. All right, so basically, he has spoken out finally about this, and I saw little clips from his interview on the Tamron Hall show, which aired today, and he was talking a little bit about what happened in that hotel. He said initially that he was there for a wedding in Miami. The police was called, a whole bunch of other stuff happened, and then he finally admitted that there was some other malfeasance happening, if you will, transpiring. So he got into rehab for alcoholism and also therapy for depression, which I applaud him on that. Nancy Pelosi applaud for that. And then his wife actually, from my understanding, actually set up this interview. She ran into Tamron Hall. They talked, and Tamron wanted to actually interview her rather than interviewing him to hear the black wife's perspective on this type of scandal happening with her black husband. And she ended up getting both of them. So in this interview, he basically says that he doesn't recognize himself in that photo I just showed y'all. He feels like someone set him up as it relates to taking the photo and leaking it. However, he doesn't try to justify it. He said, I am not gay. I know people are saying that, but I do identify as bisexual. He also says that his wife also says that this ain't new to me. This is news to y'all. There's people in open relationships. There's people that swing. There's people that do all manner of things. So I know what my husband was 20 years ago. But this is something between us. He doesn't necessarily. It's not something that she just allows, but she already knew who he was, if you will. So it's not new to her. However, she's not okay with him being, of course, in a hotel room, laid out on drugs, and probably having a night of gay sex with a couple of escorts. She probably wasn't all right with that, but she already knew that he was bisexual. What are y'all's thoughts on that? And I will say real quick, I actually applaud him because I thought he was going to lie through the whole interview. I like when people are honest about who they are. If that's who you are, thank you for being honest about it, rather than trying to still lie and put a wool over our eyes and act like we didn't see what we saw. I saw the picture. I saw it. I saw what I saw.
I saw the tape.
What are y'all thoughts?
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna tag my boy in. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Well, it ain't none of my business because I don't know nothing about the man. And at this point, like I don't. This is the thing when you stand in front of a camera, it almost gives you a sense of you have a moral responsibility, and that's not right. Right? Just because you're on camera, it's like Barkley said one time, "I ain't your kid's role model." Right? And he meant what he said. Right? And that's the thing. Like this is the problem with where we are. Right? We are in a place where I feel like we live in Neverland, to be honest with you. Peter Pan is in charge, and we all eat, Peter Pan food. It's just, man, we act like
nah.
Yeah, and he doing Jello pudding shots, right? You know what I'm saying? So this is my thing, dude. This country is not what it says it stands for. Never is, and it never will be, right? And the fact is, until we come to that realization and stop acting as though something is when it's not, well, then that makes things better, right? Not being pessimistic, just be real. I don't care I don't know the man. He's not running in my state, so he does nothing to we all have our moral flaws, period. And because we people get tired of everybody judging, not because it's a problem to judge somebody, but it's because you find yourself being hypocritical in your judgment because maybe what he did you thought about doing and you just didn't do it. So that's my problem with us. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to be a moral beacon, then so be it. But don't be judgmental. Don't tell me how much the left is bad when you look at the right and y'all just act like y'all not doing nothing. And vice versa. Don't tell me how bad the right is when you act like the left don't do nothing. That's just how I see it, man. I don't really care. I hope the brother get better, and that's it, man.
Well, I, for one, as a pansexual and non-monogamous person, I am very relieved that he did not do the two-step with I don't know what that was. And I actually also am quite relieved that he came out as bisexual, because one of the things that bisexual and pansexual people go through is this thing called erasure. And we are erased by straight people and by gay people. And so you see a lot of people saw him having relations with a same-sex person. They said, oh, he must be gay. And I'm like, how's he gay? He got a whole wife. You know, we forget that there are people, and in my opinion, it's the vast majority of people who have experienced attraction to one or more sexes or genders or whatever. So I'm glad that he came out as bisexual and didn't say I'm gay or I'm not gay or I'm straight or whatever. He's bisexual. That's okay. I'm glad that that she said, you know, she was not surprised by any of this. I don't know if they have a open relationship or a polyamorous relationship, or if they are ethically or consensually non-monogamous. But I think that it's a good thing, and I'm happy that they're not backtracking and backpedaling, because you know we need to grow up in America. It's tired. We just need to grow up. Nobody else in the world cares about this kind of shit. And we are so behind because we're like in third, like we're chuckling like little, you know, children about things that are as old as humanity itself. So I'm glad that he did what he did. I'm glad he came out. I'm glad that he's getting help for whatever substance abuse issues that he's got. And I will also say that I'm hopeful that it does not end his political career. One thing that I will say that, you know, that there is somewhat of a difference between what happens on the left and what happens on the right. Sometimes when our people do something wrong, it's like we just cancel them straight. Like, you got to go. You had a penis in your pants and you sent it as a text message. Okay, you got to go. We got rid of Elliot Spitzer. We got rid of Wiener. We got rid of Al Franken. We got rid of so many people. And the Republicans seem to be able to, you know, have affairs and do the Appalachian Trail and be in diapers with prostitutes and pay off porn stars, and nobody gives a shit. Like, it's okay. They just throw the Jesus card up and it's all good. So I'm hoping that we're getting to a place where, you know, we can have some parity on this level, where if somebody's doing something that's not exactly white, mainstream thing, that it's not a political, career ender.
That's right. That's so true. We didn't get rid of Michael Jackson, unfortunately.
So my take on this is, my theory is, again, I agree. He was honest about his life. That's what's up. When are we gonna ever make a difference in what one does and what the other one does? I don't know if that's ever gonna happen, because I mean, like I said, it's been a lot of Caucasian males running around here since Catholicism playing with little boys' booty holes and doing other things, and it's justified. And they say like, oh, it's okay. They want to make up he's sick. It's a disease. He was born like this. And then the brother gets on and he's like, hey, I identify as this. Yeah, it wasn't right. I don't think like, I should have been chastised like that or castrated like this. However, I'm seeking help. My wife knows what I do behind closed doors, but then it's a problem. Like Madison said, it's a problem when Black people do it. But when Jeffrey Epstein out here molesting children and everything else, and you got all these paying off porn stars, how many scandalous, and by no means, again, I'm not racist, but by no means, how is it that these people can continue to do the things that they do, and it come out in books and documentaries, and I mean, hell, it was just a fucking what's the name that's in jail, Trump's personal assistant, what's his name?
Cohen.
Michael Cohen. Hell, his daughter was doggone freaking his daughter was put on a pedestal and things were said about her because she put her little book out there, and we're not even gonna get on that subject.
Are Black people harder on Black people when they do this type of stuff, or do Black people become super conservative, although more Black people are liberals, or do they become politically liberals? Do they become more conservative when it comes to issues like this?
I think we do, because it's like we don't want that spotlight on us at a certain point. But I mean, we have to be. I think when we get to the point where we are harder on each other, then maybe it'll fix the problem. But we gotta be hard on the people who have done it for so many centuries and really like we have to pin the rose on them, because I mean, hell, Alexander the Great was the biggest homophobe there was. He was having sex with his lieutenants left and right. But nobody talks about that. They always talk about Alexander the Great was one of the greatest Roman generals ever.
I like what Tim said. Representation is important. We want to see ourselves as wholesome, so we want to see our politicians as wholesome. And I think we do hold that standard for our people that look like us. We almost like the whole notion that we have to be better in the workplace than our counterparts. We always have to look better without blemish. That's a lot of pressure we put on ourselves, but we definitely do it. And liberal Democrats become very conservative when it comes time for that.
Yeah, I mean, we do. I mean, we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. I just think that we need to start holding others to that same standard too. If we don't do that, then forever it's the left or right or the middle or the gray area. It's always going to be that same. It's going to be the same argument back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I mean, because people will get set up to do certain things. I mean, I think looking at that picture, I think he was set up. I think they roofied that man and they just went to town. Because went to town. I mean, I mean, because how else is that picture going? Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of there are politicians that have done that same exact thing, that have been the opposite color, done that, had whole orgies with same sex in hotel rooms.
What's it called, Brent? QAnon.
QAnon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they probably done that, and they got pictures and
people
everything.
People want to believe what they want to believe at the end of the day. That's just it. Seed
of Abraham said he set himself up. He should know better. Then Seed of Abraham said now it's a race thing. Side. I don't know if it's a race thing. I do feel like we hold ourselves more at a higher standard. I don't think it was necessarily a race thing. I think he decided to go to that hotel room with gay escorts. I mean, that's his lifestyle, it seems, but he didn't expect for it to come to the forefront. And I'm glad. It makes me nervous of what would have happened, because he was on the short list for vice president. Now, what if he was the vice president presidential candidate right now, and this stuff came out. It would have been, it could have ruined it for the whole Democratic Party. Trump would have ate that up. So, everything happens for a reason. Final thoughts. Who want to start final thoughts? I'll finish it up.
I'll go.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is imperative. It is imperative that you understand. We manipulation is done for two reasons: to get something somebody wants, or to keep something from somebody that wants something else. And so, if you're going to be duped, make sure you have done your research, because Google ain't your friend, and neither is people who have motives that are not geared towards helping us. And when I say us, I'm talking about humanity. And that's, again, that's our problem. We can research everything in the world, but until we put some morality behind the things that we're doing, man, we're headed for a cliff. So that's what I got to say.
Awesome. Ms. Madison.
Well, I will say we've got 50 days. And I've been saying for a long time that people say, we need to have a revolution. This is the revolution. This is it. And we have 50 days. We are in the process of trying to overthrow someone who has demonstrated dictatorial and tyrannical tendencies and has behaved irresponsibly and in a way that is a danger to the republic. I am not a person who thinks that America has this wonderful thing that's always been wonderful all the time, but this is an extinction level event. We have 50 days. Everyone who's listening to me, please check your voter registration. Make sure you are registered. Check your local supervisor of elections. Just Google it and make sure that you understand what you need to do in order to vote. And by the way, you can vote early by mail, or you can vote for the entire week or 2 weeks before November 3rd. You do not have to wait until November 3rd to vote. You will have half of October, you'll be able to vote in person at your local precinct. Please make sure that you are taking part in this revolution. We have one chance, and we've got 50 days, and I believe we can do it. That's just all I'm going to say. And by the way, don't just vote for president. Vote for your local officials, your city commissioners, your county commissioners, your mayors, your police chiefs, the judges, the school board. Vote for all of them. You have so much power. Don't let it go.
Good stuff. Mr. Dwayne. Before we go to Dwayne, I want to read Seed of Abraham is still posting comments here. He says, glad he was exposed before we became our governor here in Florida. He put, let's protest in bringing black fathers back in the home for our black sons. I'm with that. I like that. Then he says, a true revolution is to strengthen the black family and for black men to reconcile back to their children. All right. And then he ended it with, I'm a registered Republican. All right, Dwayne, what you got?
Well, the power to make a change comes from us. Like Madison said, it's all about that check mark. Get in line and vote. I think it's time for us to do what thus said the Lord and come together and heal this nation. For until we come together and fall on our knees and humble ourselves before the Lord, this nation will never heal. And it is very, very prominent right now that that has to happen. We have to stop being ignorant to the facts, and we have to stop being ignorant to what is out here in the world, what is right here in front of our faces. And we have to accept the fact that we have to come together. We are that generation that is going to make that change, that is going to bridge that gap to bring this world to where it needs to be, and bring this nation back. It will bring this nation to the prominence that we all brag about since 1776. Stop being scared. You have to be. You have to face fear for what it is. and you have to face it for wholeheartedly. Stop being afraid. Stop saying I can't. My vote doesn't mean anything, because it does. Because that one vote that doesn't get casted could mean a shitstorm of another 4 years, or it can mean a better 4 years from 4 years from now. So please, I implore you, people, get out and vote. Take care of yourselves in the community. Pray for one another. Love one another, because John 3:16 said, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son." He set a blueprint for us to live by. Please, people, please. We got to make the change. We got to love each other. And let's get out here in these 50 days and make it happen. Peace out.
All right. Thank you guys for coming on. All I got to say is thank you for coming out. God bless you. I'm just joking. That's Russell Simmons, they're coming to Jam. But I do only have one thing to say. I'm not going to wrap up the whole thing. You guys basically said it all. I co-signed Madison with the get out and vote. All the way up and down the ticket. Don't not necessarily a straight ticket, but vote for everything. Make your voice heard. Make your voice heard. Either way. And what else? Oh yeah, subscribe. Everyone's watching on YouTube, please go and hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, and come back and check us out on Monday. We're here every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, talking politics. This is, as Madison said, we got 50 days left. And we're going to be talking all the way up into that 50 days and beyond about what's happening, keeping you guys informed. I always say we are going to be the most informed we've ever been in this election cycle, because most people have never even thought about knowing anything about politics, but they've learned so much this year because of the importance of this particular election. It's a life-changing election. We'll just say that. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you. And we're out of here. TFG tonight.